What happens when Iran sends hundreds of armed speedboats racing toward the narrowest and most valuable waterway on Earth? The frightening answer is not simply a naval battle, because one wrong turn could shake markets, trap tankers, and pull two powerful enemies into war. Before we enter that crowded channel, tap. Like, if you value clear military stories, subscribe for calm analysis without the hype, and share this video with someone who thinks a speedboat cannot threaten a warship. By the end, you will see why the United States answered with aircraft, marines, sensors, and weapons, all working as one. The image is dramatic. Low, fast craft spreading across blue water, their wakes pointing in different directions like cracks in glass. Yet the first fact matters most. A mass launch does not automatically mean an attack has begun. Iran regularly uses exercises, parades, patrol surges, and state television footage to display readiness. Some viral posts mix those separate events together, then attach numbers that independent observers cannot confirm. The real, documented story is still serious. Iran has built a large force of small attack craft, and the United States has repeatedly moved warships, aircraft, sensors, and thousands of personnel nearby. To understand the danger, look at the map. The Strait of Hormuz links the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. At its narrowest, it is roughly 21 nautical miles across. The usable shipping system is tighter, with inbound and outbound traffic lanes separated by a buffer. Huge tankers cannot dodge like speedboats. They move slowly, need room to turn, and follow predictable routes. Iran occupies the northern shores, with islands and coastal positions nearby. Oman lies south. In that compressed space, geography gives a smaller force what money cannot buy: proximity, concealment, reaction time. The strait is not important because admirals say so. It is important because life depends on it. A major share of the world's seaborne oil passes through this corridor, along with large volumes of liquefied natural gas. The exact percentage changes with production and demand, but the basic reality does not. Disturb this route, and shipping insurance rises. Delay it, and energy traders react. Close it for long, and countries far from the Gulf feel pressure in fuel prices, factory costs, airline tickets, and household budgets. That is why a cluster of small boats can become an economic signal overnight. Iran does not operate a single navy in the way many viewers imagine. It has a conventional navy, often called the Artesh Navy, which handles longer-range missions and traditional ships. It also has the naval arm of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC. The Guard focuses heavily on the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. Its culture, equipment, and mission favor speed, dispersion, missiles, drones, mines, and surprise. This division lets Tehran show a state navy in distant waters while keeping a more aggressive, unconventional force close to home, where narrow seas magnify the value of smaller weapons. What are these boats? They are not all identical, and they are not all simple civilian craft with guns tied on top. The fleet includes small patrol boats, high-speed attack craft, missile-carrying vessels, and catamaran designs. Weapons can include machine guns, rockets, anti-ship missiles, torpedoes, and possibly systems for placing mines. Some boats may carry only a crew and a light weapon. Others can strike from much farther away. Iran has also combined boats with shore-based missiles and drones. The swarm is therefore not one weapon. It is a moving layer inside a larger coastal defense system. The central idea is swarm warfare. One boat approaching a destroyer is easy to track, and if necessary, stop. 50 boats coming from several bearings create a problem. Radar screens fill with contacts. Some vessels can be harmless. Some are decoys. Others may carry missiles, explosives, boarding teams, or cameras meant to provoke a reaction. The defender must identify intent before choosing force. That takes time. Iran hopes numbers will overload sensors, weapons, and judgment together. The goal is not always to sink a ship. Sometimes it is to push that ship away, delay traffic, reveal defenses, or win propaganda. The danger grows because the attacking force chooses when to reveal itself. Small craft can hide near ports, fishing traffic, islands, coves, and commercial routes. They can move at night or wait under cover from coastal radar and missiles. An American ship is easier to locate, even when it is harder to damage. Its position may be watched by drones, aircraft, shore stations, civilian observers, and satellites. This creates an ugly exchange. The United States brings stronger sensors and firepower, but Iran brings home field knowledge and many possible launch points. Power meets geography, and neither side gets the advantage. But the swarm is not magic. Speedboats have limited fuel, light protection crews, and poor endurance in weather. Their communications can be jammed. Their bases can be watched. Their wakes can reveal movement, and clustered boats can become easier targets for aircraft. To coordinate an attack, commanders must communicate, assign targets, avoid collisions, and keep waves moving through crowded water. Every boat adds pressure to the defender, but it also adds confusion to the attacker. The popular picture of hundreds of craft acting like one creature is misleading. A swarm can be terrifying, yet it can also break into chaos. History shows why crews take these encounters seriously. In January 2016, IRGC forces detained 10 sailors after 2 Navy riverine boats entered Iranian waters near Farsi Island. The sailors were released the next day, but images of them kneeling became a victory for Tehran and an embarrassment for Washington. That incident was not a swarm attack, and mechanical and navigation problems played a role. Still, it demonstrated something important. In confined waters, a small mistake can erase the psychological advantage of a stronger military. The outcome may be decided before weapons fire, through position, confusion, and control of the story. 3 years later, attacks on tankers and the seizure of commercial vessels pushed Hormuz back into the headlines. The United States blamed Iran for several incidents in 2019, including damage to tankers near the Gulf of Oman. Iran denied responsibility for key attacks and offered its own account. That disagreement remains important because naval crises are fought with evidence as well as weapons. Grainy video, radar tracks, radio calls, and government statements appear quickly, often before independent investigators can verify them. Each side wants the first convincing story. The lesson is simple. Real footage can carry a false caption online. In May 2021, American officials said 13 IRGC fast boats approached a formation of United States vessels in the Strait. After warnings, a Coast Guard cutter fired warning shots, and the Iranian boats moved away. Tehran disputed Washington's version and accused American forces of misconduct. The distances were enough to compress decisions into seconds. A sailor seeing a boat turn cannot know whether the crew is filming, testing, losing control, or preparing to attack. Warning shots seem routine in reports. On the water, they mark the moment when signaling is close to becoming combat, and everyone must understand the message. Another close encounter came in June 2022. The Navy said 3 IRGC craft approached the patrol coastal ship USS Sirocco and the fast transport USNS Choctaw County. One boat came within about 50 yards of Sirocco. The American ship used its horn, launched a warning flare, and altered course before the boats departed. No missile was fired. No vessel was sunk. Yet the event lasted about an hour, which shows how long crews can remain trapped between restraint and readiness. They must avoid starting a war, but they must prevent an opponent from using that restraint to move dangerously close. In spring 2023, the confrontation moved beyond harassment. Iranian forces seized the Marshall Islands flagged tanker advantage Sweet in the Gulf of Oman, then took the Panama-flagged Niobe days later while it crossed the Strait of Hormuz. American officials said the seizures threatened navigation and commerce. Iran linked its actions to legal disputes and court orders. Whatever argument each government offered, shipping companies saw armed personnel taking control of commercial vessels. Washington responded by increasing patrols and considering stronger protection for merchant traffic. The question became how much force Washington would place nearby at sea to deter another seizure. This explains the famous images and claims about hundreds of Iranian speedboats being activated. During the August 2023 guard drill and other maritime displays, Iran has put large numbers of small craft on the water, especially around Hormuz and the disputed islands of Abu Musa, Greater Tunb, and Lesser Tunb. Iranian media presents these formations as proof that the fleet can mobilize. Independent evidence does not always confirm number, weapon, or date attached to viral clips. What can be confirmed is the strategy. Disperse many craft, show they can gather, then make adversaries wonder how many more remain hidden ashore. If this separation between confirmed fact and claim is useful, give the video a like, join the channel by subscribing, and send this analysis to a friend who usually sees only the loudest headline. That action helps explanations travel farther than recycled footage. Now here is the twist. The American answer did not begin after one Iranian boat formation appeared. Much of it was already moving because of tanker seizures, drone threats, missile risks, and years of close encounters. Timing matters. Saying one exercise caused every American deployment would be neat, exciting, and wrong. The response grew layer by layer. The 3 islands add layer of tension. Iran controls Abu Musa, Greater Tunb, and Lesser Tunb, while the United Arab Emirates claims them. Tehran treats its control as settled and uses visits and exercises to underline sovereignty. The Emirates rejects that position and seeks a negotiated or legal resolution. When guard boats race around those islands, the message is aimed at more than Washington. It is directed toward Abu Dhabi and other Gulf capitals. Iran is saying that military pressure will not loosen its grip. The exercise becomes theater, territorial warning, training event, and weapons advertisement at the same time. So what did the United States send back? First came more air power. In 2023, the Pentagon sent F-35 stealth fighters and F-16 fighters to the region, while A-10 attack aircraft were already operating there. Each type served a different purpose. F-35s bring advanced sensors, networking, and air combat power. F-16s add flexible strike and patrol capacity. A TENS can remain overhead and carry weapons suited to smaller surface targets, although using aircraft in crowded waters would require careful identification. The point was visible readiness. Watch farther, respond faster, and make another seizure more costly. These aircraft were not sent to duel with speedboats in isolation. They were part of deterrence. Their presence told Iran that a local encounter could quickly bring surveillance, fighters, and weapons into the picture. It also reassured partners whose ports, energy facilities, and ships sit within Iranian missile range. But aircraft have limits too. They need bases, tankers, maintenance, secure communications, and permission to operate from partners. Small boats can scatter among civilian traffic, making target identification difficult. Air power is strongest when the threat is clear. In a gray zone encounter, a pilot may have seconds to judge intent. Then came the most visible maritime piece, the Bataan Amphibious Ready Group. The group included the amphibious assault ship USS Bataan and supporting ships such as USS Carter Hall and USS Mesa Verde, carrying elements of the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit. More than 3,000 sailors and Marines were reported moving into the region during that reinforcement. Bataan looks like a small aircraft carrier, but its mission is broader. It can support helicopters, tilt-rotor aircraft, landing craft, Marines, command teams, and medical facilities. It gives commanders options without requiring a full invasion force, and options are central to deterrence here. The Marines mattered because a tanker seizure is not only an air or naval problem. It can involve boarding teams, armed guards, evacuation, inspection, rescue, and the possibility of placing security personnel aboard vulnerable ships. American officials considered such steps during the 2023 crisis, though planning does not mean every option was used. An expeditionary unit brings people trained to move between sea and land, supported by aircraft and landing craft. That flexibility complicates Iranian planning. A guard commander must consider not only the warship beside a tanker, but helicopters overhead, Marines nearby, and reinforcements arriving from beyond the horizon. American destroyers and patrol forces added another shield. A guided missile destroyer carries radar, air defense missiles, a 5-inch gun, smaller guns, helicopters, and electronic warfare equipment. That sounds overwhelming against light boats, but the destroyer must protect itself from threats above, on, and below the surface at the same time. Iran can combine boat activity with drones, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, submarines, and mines. The defender cannot stare at one radar contact and ignore the rest. This is why the American reply was layered. No single platform could safely solve every problem inside Hormuz, especially among merchant traffic. Another part of the answer was unmanned surveillance. The United States Navy established Task Force 59 in Bahrain to combine crewed ships with drones and artificial intelligence tools across waters. Systems such as unmanned surface vessels can patrol for long periods, carry cameras and sensors, and send information to command centers. They do not replace warships, and they are not invulnerable. Iran seized 2 sail drone vessels in the Red Sea in 2022 before releasing them after United States ships responded. The episode revealed both sides of technology. Drones expand awareness, but an opponent can touch, tow, jam, or capture them. Imagine a swarm beginning. The first task is not shooting, it is seeing. Satellites may detect unusual activity at bases. Patrol aircraft can search areas. Ship radars track surface contacts, while helicopters look beyond the horizon. Drones hold watch over routes too risky or boring for crewed patrols. Intelligence teams compare movement with radio traffic, weather, port activity, and previous patterns. A formation leaving harbor may be an exercise. Boats splitting into attack lines may signal something worse. Every minute gained before contact gives commanders more choices. Every missed clue pushes the hardest decision closer to frightened sailors on deck. Identification is harder than detection. A radar symbol cannot tell you whether a boat carries fishermen, journalists, soldiers, or explosives. Cameras help, but distance, darkness, haze, spray, and deception can hide details. Radio warnings may be ignored, misunderstood, or answered with lies. Commanders use behavior as evidence: speed, formation, weapons on deck, approach angle, response to warnings, and coordination with other threats. Still, certainty may arrive too late. This is the pressure at the center of swarm defense. Fire early, and innocent people might die. Wait too long, and a craft may cross the distance needed to launch a weapon. If intent becomes clear, helicopters are among the useful answers. Navy MH-60 helicopters can search, track, communicate, and employ weapons, depending on the model and mission. Marine and Army aircraft can add surveillance or firepower when deployed. From above, crews gain a wider view than sailors at sea level. Helicopters can move between contacts and engage outside the reach of many light boat weapons. Yet they are not immune. Iran fields air defenses and shoulder-fired missiles, while small craft may carry heavier weapons than they appear to. Low-altitude combat over crowded water would remain dangerous for everyone. Shipboard guns form another layer. Large missiles are expensive and poorly suited to numerous small, close targets. A destroyer's 5-inch gun reaches farther, while smaller automatic cannons and machine guns cover shorter distances. Some ships also carry close defense systems designed to defeat incoming missiles or aircraft, and those systems may offer protection against surface threats. But ammunition is finite. Firing arcs can be blocked, and several attackers may approach from directions. The defender wants to thin the formation at range rather than wait for boats to surround the ship. Distance is not empty water. It is survival time. Electronic warfare may decide more than viewers expect. A coordinated swarm depends on navigation, radios, data links, and shared timing. If defenders jam communications or confuse navigation, the boats may lose coordination. American forces can also use decoys and emissions control to make targeting harder. Iran, however, is not helpless in this contest. Its forces study American signals, use shore-based sensors, and may rely on pre-planned routes when links fail. Simple systems can sometimes survive sophisticated jamming because they have less to disrupt. The battle is over information. Who sees, communicates, and keeps operating when the electronic picture collapses. Escorting merchant ships is a different mission from defending a warship. Tankers are enormous, slow, and not built for combat. Their crews may speak different languages and have limited training for naval emergencies. Escorts must coordinate routes, speeds, radio channels, and responses to approaching craft. They may place a vessel between the tanker and danger, but doing so can restrict maneuver. Convoys create protection and predictability at the same time. Iran can observe schedules and search for gaps. The United States, therefore, needs not only weapons, but discipline, communication, and enough ships to cover traffic without leaving another route exposed. Mines may be the threat behind the speedboat spectacle. A boat racing toward a destroyer captures attention, but a small vessel placing a mine can shut a shipping lane after it disappears. Even the suspicion of mines forces searches and expensive clearance operations. The United States keeps mine-countermeasure capabilities in the region, and navies have trained for this mission for years. Yet mine hunting is painstaking and dangerous. One discovered device can make every floating object seem suspicious. In strategic terms, Iran does not need to sink many ships. It only needs insurers and captains to fear the route. If this breakdown changed how you see the swarm, press like as a vote for depth, subscribe so the next crisis finds you prepared, and share the video with someone who follows energy or security. Those viewers rarely realize how closely the two subjects meet in Hormuz. Now we need to turn the picture around. Iran's fleet is vulnerable in open combat, but it holds advantages that cannot be erased by counting American missiles. It operates close to home, near shores, with short supply lines and many hiding places. The strongest military does not automatically control every mile of water. Iran's coastline offers ports, tunnels, shelters, islands, and civilian activity that can conceal movement. State media has shown underground naval facilities filled with fast craft and missiles, though the locations, capacities, and readiness of those sites cannot be independently verified. The purpose of footage is clear. Tehran wants opponents to believe no first strike can destroy enough boats to remove the threat. Even if bases are hit, surviving craft could emerge elsewhere. Dispersion is a form of insurance. It forces the United States to search widely, monitor continuously, and spend weapons on targets that are cheap and easy to replace. Cost creates another imbalance. A speedboat may be cheaper than the missile used to destroy it. That does not mean Iran wins, because the boat's crew, launcher, sensors, and training carry value. Still, a defense can become expensive. American commanders prefer guns, helicopters, electronic attack, and other efficient tools when conditions allow, saving missiles for advanced threats. Iran benefits if it can force the United States to waste scarce interceptors or keep forces deployed for months. Deterrence has a price even when nothing is fired. Fuel, maintenance, flight hours, crew fatigue, and interrupted shipping all become part of the contest. The greatest pressure may fall on human judgment. Modern ships have computers, but people still interpret intent and authorize force. In a swarm, several reports arrive together. One boat ignores a warning. Another turns away. A third reveals a launcher. A drone appears above the formation. A merchant captain calls for help. A radar contact approaches from shore. Commanders must build one picture from incomplete pieces, then act under rules designed to prevent unnecessary killing. Iran's strategy tries to shorten that decision window. America's response tries to stretch it through better sensing, earlier warning, and more defensive layers. Rules of engagement are not weakness. They are a safeguard against turning an encounter into an unnecessary war. Yet rules work only when crews understand them and commanders trust the information reaching them. An Iranian boat may act aggressively without crossing the threshold for attack. It may point a weapon, cut across a bow, illuminate a ship with radar, or approach at speed. Each action carries a different meaning and may demand a different response. Horns, radio calls, flares, maneuver, warning shots, and disabling fire form an escalation ladder. The hardest skill is climbing as high as the situation requires. Commercial sailors live inside this puzzle. A tanker crew does not have destroyer armor, combat radar, or teams trained to fight boarding parties. Many seafarers spend months away from families. moving fuel and cargo for an industry that depends on reliable schedules. When states trade warnings, those crews face the risk. They may have to stop engines, change route, shelter inside, or decide whether approaching armed men will fire if they resist. A seizure can traumatize a crew even when nobody dies. That reality is lost beneath maps and weapon names, but it is the reason freedom of navigation matters. The economic weapon works through fear more than destruction. Shipping companies calculate risk, insurers price it, captains and managers respond to it. If the chance of attack rises, premiums rise. Some vessels wait, others reroute, adding time and fuel. Energy buyers seek alternatives. Markets react not only to what happened, but to what might happen next. This gives Iran leverage without requiring a closure of Hormuz, something that would also damage Iran and its partners. It also explains the American focus on escorts and patrols. Washington wants commerce to believe the lane remains usable because confidence itself keeps traffic moving. Neither side can control escalation. Iran may intend a boat maneuver as a warning, while an American crew reads it as an attack. The United States may fire warning shots, while Iranian commanders describe them as aggression. A local leader may act faster than leaders expect. Communications can fail. A missile can miss its target and hit a tanker. A damaged ship can block traffic. Casualties create pressure for revenge. Within hours, officials who wanted leverage may face demands for major strikes. The narrow geography that makes swarms useful also leaves little room for mistakes, retreat, or separation after contact. That is why language matters. Iranian leaders describe their boats as defenders of national waters and symbols of resistance. American leaders describe deployments as protection for international navigation and regional stability. Each frame contains part of how that side sees the conflict, and each hides facts. Iran's coercive seizures create danger for neutral crews. An American presence can feel threatening to a country watching foreign aircraft and warships operate near its coast. Understanding both perceptions is not the same as declaring both actions equal. It simply explains why each side can call itself defensive while preparing weapons for an encounter. The information war makes conclusions difficult. Iranian state media highlights packed boat tunnels, missile launches, and American ships viewed through targeting cameras. United States releases emphasize safe transits, intercepted threats, and professional restraint. Both select images that support their message. Satellite pictures and ship tracking data can provide independent clues, but even those have limits. A satellite sees a formation at one moment, not the crew's orders or weapon status. A tracking signal can be switched off or falsified. Responsible analysis separates what is visible, what officials claim, and what remains unknown. Without discipline, storytelling becomes advertising for either government. So the phrase sent back can be misleading if it suggests one object answering hundreds of boats. The American response was a system: fighters to watch and deter, amphibious ships carrying Marines, destroyers with radar and weapons, helicopters able to reach beyond the horizon, drones feeding a picture, mine-countermeasure forces protecting channels, and regional bases sustaining the network. Allies and operators added information and access. No piece was sufficient alone. Together, they created choices. That is the essence of military power. It is not simply the largest weapon. It is the ability to connect many tools before a crisis. It is important not to confuse an amphibious assault ship with an aircraft carrier. USS Bataan can operate aircraft and has a carrier-shaped deck, but it serves a different mission from nuclear-powered carriers. Online thumbnails often blur that distinction because flat decks look powerful. Accuracy matters. Sending an amphibious-ready group with Marines signals flexible, limited options: escort, evacuation, boarding support, surveillance, rapid reaction, and strike if ordered. A carrier strike group brings a different scale of air power. Both are formidable, but they communicate different levels of commitment. Did the reinforcement work? The answer is mixed. A strong presence can discourage some attacks, reassure shipping, and improve response time. It cannot erase the rivalry, settle island disputes, or guarantee that every tanker will be safe. Iran continued to demonstrate naval capabilities and retained the ability to threaten traffic. The United States retained overwhelming conventional strength and the ability to surge more forces. That produces deterrence, but also a loaded standoff. Success may look uneventful. Ships pass, crews return home, and nobody fires. Failure can begin with an incident so small that the world notices only after the explosion. To judge what happens next, watch behavior rather than speeches. Are groups leaving bases at once? Are boats carrying missiles or mine equipment? Are radar sites becoming more active? Are drones and aircraft gathering over the strait? Do shipping warnings change? Do tankers stop broadcasting positions, pause near Oman, or request escorts? Are American aircraft dispersing to more bases? One sign alone may mean little. Several signs together can reveal a shift from theater to preparation. The most moment is not when leaders exchange insults. It is when movements shorten decision time and place armed crews inside each other's reach. The The image of hundreds of boats is powerful because it compresses the contest into one frame. Iran appears numerous, fast, close to home, and willing to accept risk. The United States appears larger, technologically superior, and determined to keep an international route open. But outside the frame are the things that decide the outcome: intelligence, maintenance, rules, diplomacy, allies, weather, crew training, ammunition, and restraint. A swarm is not proof of victory. A carrier-shaped deck is not proof of control. Both are signals. Their value depends on what the opponent believes, what captains believe, and whether anyone loses control. Before the final answer, help this kind of storytelling survive. Like the video, subscribe with notifications, and share it into one group chat where military claims are accepted too quickly. Your click can reward accuracy instead of panic. Here's the answer in English. Iran sent a warning built from numbers, speed, geography, and uncertainty. The United States answered with reach, layers, information, and escalation power. Fighters, marines, amphibious ships, destroyers, helicopters, drones, and mine hunters were not headlines. They were pieces of a message. A swarm might enter the water quickly, but it would not face one target alone. That balance is why the Strait of Hormuz remains guarded and fragile. America can destroy boats, defend ships, and punish attacks, but it cannot remove geography or uncertainty. Iran can threaten traffic, hide craft, and raise costs, but closing the strait would invite military and economic consequences. Neither side gets a victory from the first shot. The victory is preventing that shot while keeping commerce alive. So remember the wakes in the water, but look beyond them. The most dangerous weapon is neither speedboat nor warship. It is a decision made too late in a channel too narrow for regret.